नमस्ते सभी को। आज एक बार फिर से आप सबका स्वागत पॉलिटिकल इनकरेक्ट में। लेकिन आज का जो लाइव है वो थोड़ा-सा अलग होने वाला है क्योंकि इंग्लिश में रहेगा, क्योंकि आज के जो हमारे गेस्ट हैं, वो इंग्लिश में बात करेंगे। फ्रांस को बिलॉन्ग करते हैं, फ्रांसवा गॉटिये। आप में से कुछ लोगों ने अवश्य सुना होगा। मैंने तो उन्हें बहुत लंबे समय से सुना है। जर्नलिस्ट रहे हैं, बहुत सीनियर, और जिस समय कश्मीर में डिस्टर्बेंसेस हो रही थी 80s में 90s में, तो इनका बहुत वास्ट एक्सपीरियंस है, फर्स्ट हैंड एक्सपीरियंस है वहाँ की जो भी घटनाएं थी उन्हें कवर करने का। तो आज हम उनसे बात करने वाले हैं। नमस्ते फ्रांसवा, वेलकम।
Thank you.
Yeah. In any case, you don't need much of an introduction to Indian audience, but still, I think they should know that you are basically a French, but now settled in India. You've got an Indian wife, and you have been in love with India for a very long time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and when
Bilkul.
did okay, that's good. So you picked bits and pieces of Hindi.
Okay.
Yeah. So the reason I'm talking to the audience, the reason I invited Francois Gautier today for this discussion is he shared a very interesting post on X. Unfortunately, most of the media right now and most of the government agencies are also giving a free pass to Islam and Kashmiri Muslims. It's being the entire blame is being shifted on Pakistan, that it is the dirty foreign hand which is involved in all these nefarious activities. It may be partially true, but this cannot be completely true, and that is what Francois was talking on his post. So I hand over the center stage to Francois. Why did you say this, Francois?
Most of the governments in the world, including my own government, the French government, do not want to point the finger directly at their own Muslims. So either they say this is a fringe Muslim, these are few fanatics, or they don't pronounce the word Muslim. Very often we see that it's an attacker. It often comes out later, but nobody wants to say that my own Muslims, are the problem. In the case of Kashmir, which I have spent a lot of time in Kashmir, and I know the Kashmiri problem well. The problem started with Kashmiri Muslims themselves. I was there actually in the late 80s when they started killing the leaders of the Hindu community, what is called the Kashmiri Pandits. At that time, there were still about 400,000 Kashmiri Pandits left in the valley of Kashmir. People are very ignorant about Kashmir. There is Ladakh, which is mostly Buddhist. There is Jammu, which has still a thin Hindu majority. And then there's the valley of Kashmir, which was converted to Islam heavily. But where there were 1 million Hindus still at the beginning of the 20th century, and when I started covering Kashmir in the late 80s, there were still about 375,000 Hindus in the valley of Kashmir. Now, it is the Kashmiri Muslims themselves, no doubt with the help of Pakistan. I was one of the first journalists to say it. In those days, the media, it was a Congress government, mind you. The BJP was nowhere in sight. The Congress government was accusing Pakistan to train, foster, arm, and finance the Kashmiri movement in India. But it was the Kashmiri Muslims themselves who started killing the Hindu leaders. I remember having interviewed a few of them, like Dr. Tiku was a famous surgeon in Srinagar, then the director of Doordarshan Radio, I forgot his name. So a few Indian...
Taplu?
Yeah, exactly. So these people were killed by Kashmiri Muslims. At that time, it was the GKLF. GKLF was, of course, it was sidelined because it was not radical enough later. So the Kashmiri Muslims are the one who chased out these Hindus. I mean, you know that 350,000 Hindus in a few weeks. Of course, Benazir Bhutto, the one who gave the command, Azad Kashmir, she did a famous speech on Azad Kashmir, and all the mosques in the Valley of Kashmir told the Hindus either convert, die, or flee, and they all fled. But it is the Kashmiri Muslims themselves. And today, what happened in Pahalgam cannot have happened. First, it was done by Kashmiri Muslims again, with the help of Pakistan or not. I can't say. I can't say. Maybe not indirectly. Maybe not directly, but with the help of the local population, of course. I don't want to appear cynical and Islamophobe, but the reality is that when I covered Kashmir, and I believe that it is still true today, most of the Kashmiri Muslims do not feel they belong to India because of their religion. They say, I mean, if you're a white journalist, a Western journalist, they tell you Kashmiris are very good at hiding their feelings. I mean, especially as they need tourism, they like tourism, so they sound very nice. But actually, if you're a white journalist, a Westerner, they tell you, we don't feel Indian, we don't like India. We feel we belong more to Pakistan because it is Islamic and we are Muslims. I think it's the same from the humble shikara boatman on the Dal Lake to the retired Ahmed, very educated, nice Kashmiri Muslims. I mean, I emphasize the name nice because people have a tendency to clump everything together. I mean, nice Kashmiri Muslims, educated, university chancellor, retired high court judges, would tell me after some time, they would tell me, no, we don't like India. We're not Indian. We don't feel Indian. And it's the same today. It's the same thing. The government, turns a blind eye to this, both the Congress and the BJP, and keeps on pouring money onto Kashmir. Kashmir, the Valley of Kashmir, is the most subsidized state, in the entire history of independent India. And today it's still true. I think Mr. Modi poured billion and billion of rupees in Kashmir. High stake visits, high level visits and democracy and all these things. But I don't think it makes a difference to the Kashmiri who feel we're not Indian. And the Kashmiri Muslims started a war against India. I was there. They started a war against India in the name of Islam, not in the name of, some ideology, but in the name of Islam. So they started attacking. They fired the first shots. It's not like the Indian government was persecuting the Kashmiri Muslims or killing the Kashmiri Muslim, or there was an ethnic cleansing of a Kashmiri Muslim. The Kashmiri Muslims themselves started killing Hindus and attacking the government of India. Now today they pose as martyrs. This shocks me profoundly because I know the truth. I saw the truth. They get the benefit of sympathetic Western media. Even in those days, I remember when I was covering, Mark Tully was the guru of us all because he was the most famous journalist in those days. And, he had opposed Indira Gandhi during the emergency. He was there when the Golden Temple was stormed. He was even jailed. So he was a hero. And he's a very nice man, like many British are. But in those days, the Congress was saying, not the BJP, Pakistan is arming, financing and training the Kashmiri terrorists. And Mark Tully would say, no, this is not true. This is not true. India is lying. He would say it openly on the radio, in his reports, and most of the Indian media at that time would follow suit because he was such a famous guy. I felt that it made sense that, no doubt, I mean, these guys couldn't have, this training in weapons and explosives without, the Pakistan at that time. Zia-ul-Haq was, the dictator, and Bhutto also. And they had said, because of Bangladesh. Bangladesh is a key element in Kashmir, that Pakistan never forgot the loss of Bangladesh. Today, Bangladesh back to Pakistan, that's another story. But in those days, both Zia-ul-Haq and Bhutto and many others felt, we will bleed India through many wounds. because of
Thousand cuts
the
by
loss of.
thousand cuts. Yeah.
So that meant Punjab, the Khalistan movement,
Hmm.
which was crushed by Rajiv Gandhi, ironically, and Kashmir. So the specter of Khalistan has risen again, no doubt. Pakistan is also behind it. Uh, Kashmir never died. I mean, I've been saying since the Hamas attack on Israel,
Hmm.
in October 2023, that Kashmiri Muslims must be thinking of doing something similar.
Hmm.
Indeed, it has come out that actually they managed to kill only 28 Hindus, but they were meaning to kill hundreds of them. Like the Hamas, I think the Hamas killed about 450 or 500 Israelis. So they were planning to do something similar on those Holocaust line.
Yeah.
So yes, I think all the
Okay.
leaders, whether they're
Hmm.
Mr. Modi or Mr. Mohammed, have the same illusion about Kashmiri Muslim,
Hmm.
and or they don't want to point the finger at them because it becomes too complicated.
Yeah. Okay. Now, since you mentioned Punjab terrorism, also there is one basic difference between what was happening in Punjab and Kashmir. Of course, we know that Pakistan was contributing. It had its own agenda to play over there. But in case of Khalistan, there was no scriptural authority or scriptural sanction for terrorism. Whereas in case of Kashmir, there is a scriptural sanction. They have to perform this Islamic jihad. So that is one basic difference. And probably that was why it was easier to contain the problem in Punjab rather than in Kashmir. Am I right?
Correct, correct, absolutely correct. There is in the Quran a scripture, as you say, kind of order, that infidels need to be converted or killed. So this is why, but nobody wants to say it openly, or nobody cares to read the Quran.
Hmm.
I think it was written, it made sense in those days because, these were different times, 7th, 8th, 10th century, 11th century, 12th century, to the violent world, and you needed to cover women, protect your women, and be violent. But today, in the 21st century, it makes no sense. So the jihad in Kashmir was started in the name of the Quran, and it's still true. The Muslim terrorists of Kashmir who kill Hindus, they feel that they're doing their duty. So
Yeah.
there is no guilt there. And this is what makes it very dangerous. So
Hmm.
I think it's a warning to the government, though, that the government has been jolted out. It has been said that there was no proper intelligence, that the intelligence had gone to sleep, and the government was not expecting, neither the army nor the BSF nor the police. There are different layers of police in Kashmir. There's the local police, then there's the BSF, border security, and then there's the army, which is the ultimate rampart in Kashmir. So I think they had gone to sleep, and this must have jolted them out. But this problem is not going to go away. It's not going to go away because the thing with terrorism, that it can strike anytime, and even if you're prepared, you're going to hurt.
Yeah, exactly. And I was looking at your timeline on X. You posted some tweets addressing Hindus. So before I move on to those tweets, I would like to share with my audience that Francois has built a very elaborate, very beautiful museum in Pune. And this museum, a major part of it is dedicated to Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. I'll just flash this message. The Shivaji Maharaj Museum of Indian History, Pune, is a Seva project. Entrance of museum is free. Last year, we got 15,000 visitors, many of them school children. And we entirely depend on donations. We have Indian and US tax exemption and CSR. If you wish to support that project, send a mail to Francois Gautier 26 at gmail.com. So I would suggest all the audience to contribute generously because what he is doing is very good. And last year when I went for Jaipur Dialogues over there in Pune, I had a visit to that museum. I've got some photographs I'll share with the audience. Here we are. This is a museum. Now, these are paintings which uh, show in detail the life of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. And in the weather of Pune, they have to be protected. And unfortunately, the weather is very corrosive in nature. That is why uh, an elaborate arrangement is required to protect these paintings and keep them in their pristine condition. So, if any one of you feels like contributing, do contact Francois. I think this is a unique museum which
Started
Hindus
in
could have built.
Kashmir. That museum started in Kashmir because, as I said, I spent many years covering Kashmir, and once there was a one Hindu temple left in Srinagar. It was a small Ganesh temple, and it had been attacked by the militants the day before. So I and a friend, Tiziano Terzani, who was a correspondent for the German magazine Spiegel, we decided to visit this temple. Most of the other journalists, they went somewhere else. There was a separatist called Shabir Shah, and he had been under house detention, and he had fled, and his people, most of our drivers were informants. They would tell us what will happen. So they told us that he would appear in the old mosque of Srinagar. But my friend and I decided. I pulled him. He was not very, he was not very keen. I pulled him to that temple, and we met these pandits. They had been, as I said, they had been attacked by mortar. This temple had been attacked, and their story touched me profoundly. I felt they were very courageous people and very good people. So that day I decided I would do something for the Kashmiri Hindus, for the Kashmiri Pandits. And a little later, I got a prize of journalism called the Nachiketa Award of Journalism. I don't know if it's still given. In those days, it was given by the Prime Minister. Mr. Vajpayee was the Prime Minister. He gave me this award in Parliament, and there was a check of 50,000 rupees with it. So with that check, I started a foundation called FACT, Foundation Against Continuing Terrorism. And my first exhibition was on the Kashmiri Pandits, which we opened in the Habitat Center in New Delhi with Sri Sri Ravi Shankar and L.K. Advani, who then was the Vice Prime Minister, Deputy Prime Minister. This exhibition was taken all over the world because Sri Sri Ravi Shankar was very touched by the Kashmiri Pandit. There was a film with it, which was done by a Pandit called Ashok Pandit. It was called "And the World Kept Silent." Beautiful film, and I'd shown it to Sri Sri because I'm a teacher of his techniques myself and my wife, and pranayama has benefited me immensely in my life. So I showed the film to Sri Sri and the exhibition, and he was very touched. So he's a very famous guy. So he took this exhibition everywhere he went, in Europe, in the US, in Israel. He showed it in German Parliament, Polish Parliament, Israeli Parliament, and finally to the US Congress. He financed it, because the Congress, the US Congress, you need to pay the not bribe, but you need to pay the senators. They come to your event. So we showed it to the US Congress, and this led to a resolution, bipartisan resolution of the US Congress in 2000, maybe 2015 or 16, I forgot, on the plight of the Kashmiri Hindus. So this is, and so that exhibition I took all over India, and eventually I did other exhibitions on Aurangzeb, because Aurangzeb is very central to not only to Kashmir, but also to the militancy, to the hard Sunni militancy, which is there in Afghanistan, in Pakistan, in Indonesia, and all over the world now. You can say that Aurangzeb is the ancestor of all that, because he was the most powerful emperor of his time, and he had the most powerful army. And of course, he beheaded his brother, who was a Sufi. So exhibition on Aurangzeb, on Shivaji Maharaj, who fought Aurangzeb successfully. And ultimately, Sri Sri gave me 5 acres of rocky land near Pune. And my first exhibition that I put there were the Kashmiri Pandits. And after that, I started developing and I think today there are 22 pavilions and a beautiful Bharat Mata temple and a video room. So it's been I feel that I have written many books. I've written about 30 books in French and English on India, Indian history, Ayurveda, pranayama, everything. I've written thousands of articles, but a museum is something that will outlast me, or that hopefully that I will leave behind, because an article has a limited span of life. A book has a limited shelf life. As you know now, there are so many books, and now with artificial intelligence, we're not going to know if someone has really written the book or whether it's been written by AI. But my museum, there is nothing to do with AI, and I hope it'll stay behind me and be a testimony to my love and dedication to this great country, which is India, Bharat.
Yeah. Okay. Since you mentioned Sri Sri, now there is a section of Hindus. They're very naive in their understanding. What they try to do is sometimes they try to berate these gurus also. Sometimes they would say that, okay, Sri Sri, he is a businessman. Ramdev, he's a businessman. Sadhguru, he's a businessman. They don't care for dharma. They are just trying to earn mint money. How do you feel about such thoughts about these great people who contributed immensely in their own manner?
Because Hindus have a colonized mind, and many Hindus, I mean, India has been colonized for a long, long time. Of course, first by the Muslim invaders, the Arab invaders. Before that, by Alexander the Great, who came and tried to conquer India, and then much later by the Portuguese, the French, the Dutch, and the British. I think the British are those who left the biggest imprint on the Hindu mind, which today we can call the Nehruvian mind, is that they look at their own culture, their own religion, their own spirituality, their own masters with a British eye, basically, with a Western critical eye of superiority.
Hmm.
The problem with Indologist, I'm jumping a little bit away, but the problem of Indologist Western journalists is that unconsciously they have a feeling that my civilization is superior, my religion is superior, that my democracy is superior. So this was transmitted to Hindus, and this is very, very sad, actually. It's a very, very sad thing, is that Hindus look down on their own, because India is so ancient, so old, and this knowledge of who am I, what happens when I die, what is an avatar, how God himself or herself, because Hindus know that, the energy of God is feminine, manifest at different times using different scriptures, different names. I mean, nobody else in the world knows that anymore, but the Hindus do. But Hindus tend to ignore that and look down on that. So the gurus are the one who have they have transmitted this knowledge, from times immemorial. And people like Sri Sri Ravi Shankar, they start very small. They have a few disciples, then more disciples, then they have to feed them, then do satsang. They have to get the money for satsang, and then they're always in debt. I mean, I know Sri Sri. He's not that rich, he's always have some project, some seva. He starts from university, does some big cultural event, so he's always in debt. He's always looking after money. But Hindus, say, oh, he's a rich man or he's a fake guru. Same thing about Sadhguru, and when he was alive, you know, Sai Baba, and today Sadhguru, and Ramdev. They're good people, They're people who have knowledge and trying to doing good. But it's very sad that they look down. So coming back to Kashmir, Sri Sri also tried. He has one of the few gurus who has Muslim teachers and Muslim disciples. And he's been
Hmm.
to like Iraq, Afghanistan, Pakistan even, and he did go to Kashmir. He had teachers who went to Kashmir and tried to convert militants. He did convert a few militants that came to his ashram, and but it's an uphill battle, and I don't
Yeah.
think he was ultimately successful. But we need to respect that, because ultimately these Kashmiri Muslims, they have to be integrated.
Yeah.
Well, I'm cynical at the moment. I think it's not going to happen immediately, but ultimately they have to be integrated in India one way or the other. Now, there was another sage called Sri Aurobindo.
Yeah.
uh, Actually, I came first to India. I drove from Paris to Pondicherry because there was a French lady called the Mother.
Hmm.
She was the companion, spiritual companion of Sri Aurobindo, and she continued Sri Aurobindo's work. She was the first disciple of Sri Aurobindo, and Sri Aurobindo died in 1950, and she continued his ashram. There's an ashram in Pondicherry, and she started Auroville, an international township, in 1968. And so actually, I drove from Paris, having heard about this French lady, from Paris to Pondicherry, and I met her. I had the great privilege to meet that extraordinary lady, who was
Hmm.
also a guru. Uh, so Sri Aurobindo in 1947 felt that the partition of India was a great mistake. Now, I know times have changed, but now many Hindus or many Indians feel that if Pakistan and India would be reunited, uh, it would make, there would be such a huge Muslim population in India that, knowing the radical feelings of much of the, many of the Muslims, it would be a difficult task for Hindus to integrate them. But in those days, Shomido felt that Nehru and Mahatma Gandhi had given in to both Jinnah and the pressure from Mountbatten. Mahatma Gandhi in the name of his sacred non-violence, and Nehru because he was weak, and he was himself, very an admirer of the British, especially of Mountbatten's wife, Edwina,
Hmm.
who seemed to have a fond feeling for. So why not that one day, we've seen that, the German in Germany, of course, they have the same color of skin, they have the same religion, but we've seen the German wall, the Eastern German wall fall down. We've seen Korea, eventually they would be reunited. So why not there could be one day be a South Asian confederation, with every country keeping its own culture, its own government, but maybe having a common currency, maybe having open borders. I don't know. Then the Kashmiri Muslim problem, there would be a great chance that it would dissolve slowly,
Hmm.
and these Muslims integrate themselves in a greater India.
Hmm.
That is a hope.
Okay, okay. Now I come to your post that you tweeted on X, which you had addressed to Hindus. Let me read it for the audience. शर्म आती है हिंदुओं पर जो न केवल पहलगाम आतंकी हमले में बल्कि बांग्लादेश और बंगाल दहन में भी अपने भाइयों और बहनों पर हुए हमलों पर चुप हैं। हम भी बीजेपी की आवाज सुनना चाहेंगे जो हिंदुओं की बदौलत अपनी शक्ति रखती है। क्या मैं सही हूं या गलत? What prompted you to say this?
Because I mean, so few people,
Hmm.
whether it is the BJP leadership, nobody now dares to say anything unless Mr. Modi says it first. So the
Yeah.
BJP leadership is kind of emasculated. I'm a great admirer of the BJP. I've been defending the BJP long before it came to power, and Mr. Modi long before anybody thought he could become prime minister. But now nobody dares to say anything. The media is also mostly emasculated now, and
Hmm.
just plays the tune that they are asked to play. Bollywood, we know about Bollywood. I'm not a great fan of Bollywood. I feel that it's definitely not a friend of the Hindus. Nobody has said anything. Nobody has condemned, this violence, named this violence. They should be named. It should be
Yeah.
said. Muslims kill Hindus. I mean,
Hmm.
after all, this is what happened. Muslims kill Hindus because they're Hindus. They were asked to lower their pants to see if they were circumcised. If they were not circumcised, then they were Hindus and they were shot. Um, so I wish, I'm a white man, Catholic born, Catholic educated. I'm not a Hindu, I'm not an Indian, but it pains me and it angers me that there has been so little outrage
Yeah.
about what's happening in Pagram, which have been much worse. But I guess it's the same anywhere in the world. We see it now in Western countries where governments, want to have blinders or pretend to have blinders and do not want to name the problem. But the thing is, Muslims kill Hindus. Why?
Yeah.
Why? Because they think that Hindus are infidels, idolaters, people that the Quran says that if necessary needs to be converted or killed. So who's going to say that openly today?
Right. And unless this is spoken, there we will not be able to find out a solution which will be lasting.
No, no,
Yeah.
absolutely not. Absolutely. Unless you name the problem and you face the problem, how are you going to solve the problem? If
Exactly.
I have a fault within me, I keep pretending that I'm fine, that doesn't exist. I'll never solve the problem. But if I face the problem, it may be difficult, it may be painful. I face the problem. I say, okay, I have anger in me. What can I do? Then
Yeah.
then I have a chance to solve
That
that
is
problem.
the only way the problem can be solved. Once we look it into the eye, hold it from the scruff of the neck, and talk to people that look, this is the problem and we have to solve it. We don't
Absolutely.
have to blame every Muslim to be a terrorist, but at least we have to acknowledge that this scriptural authority is the problem, and we have to wean Muslims away from it, bring them into mainstream. We have to shut down madrasas where they are being radicalized, where they are being constantly taught that all non-Muslims are infidels, and if they are going to continue to they continue going to those madrasas, definitely they are going to be indoctrinated. And even we are such a large country and such a large population of Muslims, even if 1% gets radicalized, that amounts to hundreds of thousands of radicalized Muslims and potential terrorists.
True, true, absolutely. You're right.
Yeah. Okay, now I move on to your second tweet. Here it is. कब तक हिंदुओं को उनके मूल अधिकारों से वंचित रखा जाएगा? उन्हें उनकी मातृभूमि से बाहर खदेड़ा जाएगा, मारा जाएगा। ये तस्वीर सब कुछ बयां कर देती है। और राजनेता, बॉलीवुड अभिनेता, क्रिकेटर शांति मानवता की बात करते हुए अपने मगरमच्छ के आंसू बहाएंगे, मुख्य अपराधी इस्लाम का नाम लिए बिना। Now, this is one of the very few tweets that I've seen where someone is openly talking about Islam being the actual culprit, not not being all Muslims. And this is not something very tough which should be said. And you've rightly pointed out that cricketers and film stars who are considered as celebrities over here, none of them has dared to do it.
Yes, it comes back to the same as my last tweet, is that unless it has to come from the top. It has to come from the top. If the top says, this is the problem, and names the problem, and use the words, Islamic terrorism, Muslim, Kashmiri Muslim, then the rest will follow. The media will follow. Eventually, the cricketers will follow. And
Yeah.
some of the Bollywood stars will follow. I mean, we saw that Bollywood stars went to the opening of the Ram Mandir, and Mr. Modi makes a point to meet, some of these famous people, whether they are famous cricketers or famous cinema actors or famous influencers. So Mr. Modi has a tremendous influence. He's a very, very, very powerful man today. So his word is binding. So if the word comes out from him, then the rest will follow. But at the moment, we don't see that, and this is a bit worrying. And also, what is worrying is that the media is scared. The media is
Yeah.
scared the media that used to hate Mr. Modi so much, in such an extreme and irresponsible and untrue manner. I mean, not long ago,
Hmm.
Indian media, the Western media, forget it. They still, in my country, they still think that Mr. Modi as a Nazi. But the Indian media used to to hate. When Mrs. Sonia Gandhi was in power, the media, followed her lead also, and spoke so badly about Mr. Modi, who was a very fine man and who had never killed a Muslim in his life. No, he's not the one who went down in the streets of Ahmedabad and Gujarat after 57 Hindus were burnt alive like animals.
Hmm.
He didn't say anything. He didn't even tell the people, okay, go down and kill Muslim. But that stain that still sticks to him. Still, that wrong accusation still sticks to him. But he should be the one who talks now,
Yeah.
because he should be the one who talks, and everybody will follow. But at the moment, the BJP leadership is emasculated because everybody is scared to open their mouth, and the media the same way. Everybody is scared to open their mouth, except a few fringe media which do not weigh so much. But the mainstream media, I've been to events in Delhi where Mr. Modi and Mr. Amit Shah are invited. I won't say the name, but all the big media groups, once a year they have a jamboree, kind of, get together, and Mr. Modi and Mr. Amit Shah are always the, the centerpieces of this jamboree. So
Yeah.
I remain a lone voice. I was a lone voice in when Mark Tully was there, and he was saying that no, Pakistan is not helping the Kashmiri Muslims, and I remain a lone voice today on saying, we wish that Mr. Modi would, put the dot on the i's.
Yeah.
Because the truth is the truth. I mean, sometimes it's difficult to face the truth, but as we've said, both of us, unless you face the truth, face the problem, how are you going to solve it? I mean, we can keep pouring billions of rupees in Kashmir and hoping that tourism will make the Kashmiris happy, but it showed no, they killed tourists. I mean, the tourists have run away,
Yeah. And this single incident has put the clock back by maybe 2 or 3 decades. So much money constantly being pumped into Kashmir. Kashmiri Muslims are the most pampered citizens of this country right now.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And the just like you were anticipating, I too was anticipating that sooner or later such an attack is going to take place, and that is what has happened. And
Absolutely.
unless there is some course correction from the political center, this will again happen, because
Of course.
as long as the root cause is present over there, you cannot expect it to vanish overnight.
Of course, it'll happen again anytime, it'll happen again anytime. And this border, I spent a lot of time on the line of control. I went both sides, in Pakistan side, the Indian side. I was with the Indian army. I went with the Pakistan army. It's a very, very easy border to cross. I mean, you cannot guard this border. It's so long and so rocky and sometimes so remote that it's difficult to cross. But the pointing figure of the Pakistan, is too easy. And we see that people like Owaisi, the MP Owaisi, you pronounce it Owaisi, no? His name?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Owaisi, who's himself a rabid Muslim, is pointing the finger at Pakistan. He should tell people that, okay, this is a bit of a stooge thing, that even the radical Muslims are saying, oh, Pakistan, Pakistan, Pakistan. Even Farooq Abdullah and Omar Abdullah pointing the finger at Pakistan and crying, oh, Pakistan, Pakistan. But no, it's a Kashmiri Muslim, who
yeah,
did it, not
yeah,
the Pakistanis. I mean, they don't need the Pakistanis to kill people. They have it in them, the Kashmiri Muslims themselves, with the silent support of most of the Kashmiri population, Kashmiri Muslim population, because
Hmm.
the Kashmiri Muslim population, they are the one who chased out the Hindus from the valley of Kashmir. I mean, 350,000 Hindus, many of them men in their prime. It's not the Pakistan army who chased them. They might have given some support, indirect, because they didn't enter India and chase out. Pakistanis did not enter India and chase out 350,000 human beings. The Kashmiri Muslims did themselves. So, let us say things how they are. Let us not, put blinkers and pretend that it's only fault of Pakistan. Kashmiri Muslims, oh, they're good people, they some, maybe they may misled, but they want peace, they want democracy, they want tourism. Bullshit.
Yeah,
Absolute bullshit.
that's a lot of hogwash actually.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. My final question to you. Now we are seeing all over the world some lone voices rising up. There is one Gart Wilders, there is one Douglas Murray, there is uh, someone here, someone there. But that collective effort, I at least I have not been able to see. Do you see them crystallizing into something concrete in near future?
See, Islam is fighting a war against the entire world.
Hmm.
At the moment, it looks like it's got the upper hand because Muslim, whatever you say about Muslims, first they stick together, not like Hindus who are, wonderful people but very selfish, very individualistic. Muslims stick together. You attack, anybody says against the Prophet, anything in the Prophet, all the Muslims in the world will come together, and blow up, kill, protest, and at the moment, the immigrants also have the upper hand because they're in countries like France and Great Britain where their weight now is being felt because they're not only the immigrants today, but there's those who climb the ladder. In France, there are many French Muslims who are highly educated, highly intelligent, who have risen in the hierarchy. So they're either in the police or in the bureaucracy, or they're artists, or they're talented people. But they remain Muslims. Not like Hindus. They remain Muslim. Islam. My first nationality is Islam. My second is French, Indian. So at the moment, Islam has the upper hand, but it is waging a war against the entire world, from China, to India, to Europe, to the US. It is not a war that Islam can win in the long run. I mean, like Hitler, Hitler was overcoming the whole of the world. He overcome the whole of Europe except Britain, which is a small island, actually. Then he was in Russia, he was in South America, he was everywhere.
Hmm.
But ultimately, Hitler lost because he was waging a war against the entire civilized world, and the entire civilized world rose against him at some point, and eventually Hitler was defeated. So I feel in the same way, unless Islam converts, adapts the Quran to the modern times, removes, passage from the Quran, which enjoins jihad, physical jihad against infidels, unless, but I don't think they're ready to do that at the moment. Unless they do that, they will lose that war. In Kashmir, in China, they already lost it at the moment.
Yeah.
In America, in the Europe, because slowly people are rising. What they say, what people are calling the far right. Like that lady in Italy, Meloni, or
Melon.
uh, um, people elect these people because they're fed up with the immigrants, they're fed up with the violence, they're fed up with cars driving into crowds to kill as many people as possible. They're fed up with ladies being raped or groped. So ultimately, although the media is still defending Islam and some politicians are still saying, "Oh no, Islamophobia," ultimately, the world will rise against Islam, and Islam cannot win that war. So it could be also the way to solve the Kashmir problem is that Islam will be defeated, and Muslims will feel that they will abandon that religion and change their names and integrate in whichever place they are. So this is what I feel, is that this war cannot be won in the long run.
Hmm. Okay. Uh, Thanks a lot for sharing your views. And I'll just one request to my viewers that this is what we are talking about. Francois Gautier has put a lot of effort, a lot of time, a lot of money in building this museum for Shivaji Maharaj. It's close to Pune. If you are in the surroundings or you visit Pune or you go to Maharashtra, you must visit this museum. And once again, if you are financially capable, I would suggest you support him. Something which should have been done by Hindus themselves. Here we have this guy who is very passionate about Hindus, about our country. He's been doing this. Let us support him, his efforts, and thanks, Francois, for being with us and sharing your views so candidly.
Good question. Thank you very much. Good
Ji.
question, good interview. Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you, viewers. Or